Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh Robb and Austin Wilson.
All right. Hey. Welcome back to the Invested Dads Podcast, a podcast where we take you on a journey to better your financial future and in an effort to better your financial future. Today, we are going to give our 10 ways, 10, count them, ways to save you money.
All right. And these are going to be ways that most people can do. Now, they may not all apply to you, but hopefully you could take a couple of these and get farther down the road to savings.
And there are probably some that, actually, if this don't apply to you, you probably just won't listen to this episode if you're like the guy who has a Ferrari.
And you're good to go.
So, anyway, let's just hit the ground running,
Jump
Josh.
in there.
Number one, what about your house?
Yeah, so there's a couple things you can think about when you're looking to save money when it applies to your house. Now, again, if you're renting, this is a different situation, but if you own your home or have a mortgage on your home more particularly, this is two things. First is interest rates are super low. We've talked about this, right? We've talked about this in other episodes. We did a refi episode. We talked about that.
Yep.
What to do, all the ideas of what refinancing looks like, all that.
Yeah, so check that episode out if
Definitely.
you're more interested about refinancing, but
Yes.
go ahead.
So refinance your home. That may be an opportunity to free up cash flow. So we're talking about saving money. So if you refinance and you cut your mortgage payment down, you have extra cash flow each month to do something with, i.e. save.
And that would generally be done through keeping the term the same, but getting a new low rate because rates are probably lower if you
Correct.
bought the house anytime in the past, really.
Yes.
So, yes, that can save you monthly money in your budget as well. Another option when you're thinking about your house is downsize.
Yes.
It's an option. A lot of people don't really consider that option. But if you don't need the space. Now, I know we're probably going to have someone email us saying, hey, my family gets together twice a year. There's 1,000 of us because all my kids have 7 kids.
Yes,
And
they're
we
all
all
over.
get together and come. But do you really need to live in a 8,000 square foot lake house mansion with 2 of you?
Yes.
Maybe
You do.
not.
You have to. You need it.
Maybe not. So yes, if you're retired, that you could probably live in something smaller. Maybe like go to one of your kids' houses for the holidays, or
rent a place
rent a room or a place somewhere, because those huge houses make for large mortgage payments, which you could, if you had a smaller house, pay less, which is great. If you own it, there's still more costs associated with it, from utilities, from heating and cooling space you're not using, more taxes, more insurance, more maintenance, and more work.
Yeah. So a high level is don't let the sentiment.
Don't try and keep up with the
Yes.
Joneses.
Yes, but don't let your past relationship with your house
Yeah.
keep you from making that decision. Don't fall in love with the property. Remember the memories, but it's not the building, it's the memories that are made there.
Yep.
So there may come a time in your life where you may say, you know what, as much fun as it was raising a family here, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Now-
And we could make some new memories at a new spot.
That's right. Now, I hear the mortgage payments, the utilities, heating and cooling expenses, taxes and insurance, maintenance, those things we talked about, they're very affordable in cardboard boxes.
Yes. Yeah, there's very little.
So
Very
the
little
overhead
upkeep.
is quite low.
Yes.
No, but for real, we're not saying that. We're saying find a size of a space you need and allow the extra money you save to fuel your ability to travel, spend time with family, do things you want to do. Because having more house than you need can be kind of a weight, kind of an anchor.
Yes, you can definitely. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today really comes down to prioritizing your needs and desires. Can you have a big house? Yeah. What do you give up to have that? And that's just weigh the two and say, you know what? My family gets together here. This is the spot that everybody comes to, and they do it often. Okay, that makes sense. We really don't like to travel. We don't do a lot of that. Okay, that's a location. Everybody can come. Just weigh the two. What are we giving up to keep this property? So
That is
you're
a
right.
lever some people can pull.
Yes.
Number 2, consider your groceries carefully.
Yes, I always look very hard at my groceries.
Because they're delicious.
There's a lot of choices.
But some practical things you can do when you start thinking about your groceries. A, don't go to the store hungry, which I feel like I often
Oh, that's
do.
a bad idea.
because
Yep.
and then I'm like, yum, that sounds good.
And I know
Yum,
it too.
that
You're
sounds
there,
good.
you're just grabbing stuff, and you're
Right.
like, I would not be picking this up if I wasn't
So
starving.
don't go to the store hungry. You make impulse purchases. It's not great. Number 2, speaking of that, stick to the list. Take a list with you. Plan your meals out. Do whatever. Stick to the list and don't buy things that are on the list. Another way to do this, and it's something that we've started using, Instacart.
Yes.
Consider delivery. You can't go off the list or go to the store hungry if you get your groceries delivered to your house.
Unless the guy delivering is hungry, then you might be missing some groceries. I
Yeah,
don't
that's going counterproductive there. But that's something we've done. It's not free. There is a cost involved, but some people can weigh out the fact that you might spend a couple dollars to save a couple dollars of impulse purchases.
Or time even.
Time equals money, and that's something good. People are going to debate me on this up and down, but I'm going to say it. This is controversial.
Go for it.
I don't believe that organic produce is worth it.
I'm on the same page as you.
I'm like, does that $4 apple, is it really worth twice as much as the $2 per
If it's
pound apple?
Honeycrisp, then yes.
Oh, Josh, you and your
but
Honeycrisp.
other than that, there's no reason to pay more for an apple.
I think that all produce goes through the same FDA approval process.
It's just a difference
It's
of
deemed
how they
safe.
treat and everything.
Right. It's
But
deemed safe.
You're right. I'm on the same page, and where we live, there's a lot of farmers in the area, and the ones I am friends with and related to or talk to, they all say the same thing: is you go through all the organics there for a reason, because they do go through extra stuff to make sure it's not treated with certain chemicals and stuff. But in the end, for most people, if you don't have some sort of issue from a health standpoint where you need that, you're really just paying for the label more than anything.
Yeah. So that could be a place to save a couple bucks here and there. Another option, when you're thinking about your groceries, is it's okay to use coupons, find deals, and know there's probably more than one grocery store in your town. At least when I was growing up, there was one grocery store in town. But if you're in a bigger town, there's plenty of options. So different stores have different coupons, different deals, different things are different prices. And you might like different things at different places.
Yeah,
so
and there's
shop
always
around.
like generic brands as versus to the brand names.
We are big proponents. That's 4. We're big for not brand name foods. Like a knockoff Frito, it tastes a lot like a Frito. I bet it.
There's some things you got to go with the brand names.
Coffee.
I don't know.
I've found there's a difference between
You got to have Folgers.
even Folgers or Maxwell House is like the minimum. Like Aldi brand, we like Aldi a lot.
So not the
Aldi
generic
brand coffee.
spoon into your hot water stuff.
Instant coffee? No, I don't do
Okay.
that. What do you do? Jif peanut butter. We like
peanut butter.
name brand peanut butter.
I'll actually go off-brand peanut butter.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Mac and cheese.
Oh yeah.
If you go off-brand mac and cheese, you're running some risks there. I'm going to be honest with you.
And you're saving like 20 cents a box.
It's really cheap anyway. That's one in particular that I definitely go that route. And what's the other one that I'm just adamant about? Toothpaste. There's certain toothpaste that I like, and Crest, Colgate. Everybody has their like brand, and so when it's not that, sometimes it's just not the same.
So you know how I like Dr. Squatch. That's the soap I use.
Yes.
Dr. Squatch, and it's like naturally kind of soap, but I like it. It smells manly, so I feel good about it. But they launched toothpaste.
Oh,
Manly toothpaste.
manly. Is it bacon flavored? What do we got here?
It's one of them's. There's a different toothpaste at night and morning.
Oh, wow.
2 different ones.
Interesting.
I didn't really plan on buying it, but it was part of a bundle I got for like a early Christmas deal or whatever. And so I'm gonna try. I haven't gotten it yet.
let me know.
I'm gonna try it. So
Maybe
night toothpaste and
may
morning.
break me out of it.
Don't use your morning toothpaste at night.
Oh, that'd be weird.
You'd be just sleep. We'd be up all night. Be
Is
jacked
it
up.
like energy in it or what?
I don't know. We're gonna find out. All right. So, and we're gonna preface this. We've went through 2 items already, but preface this with this is Josh and my opinion.
Yes.
None of this is fact. You can debate us on this. In fact, we would welcome questions.
Well, it is fact that if you do these, you can save money.
Yeah,
is it
that's
worth
true.
it, or do you have value? Then that's
and
a whole
some
other
people
thing.
will debate us on these things. But these are just our opinions, and we see a lot of people and get a lot of questions on these kind of things. But that's kind of where we're at. So number three, I'm saying don't buy a new car.
Okay, ever drive a bike.
I'm saying unless I'm talking brand new car.
Okay,
unless money doesn't matter to you. The benefit of buying a new car is far outweighed by the cost of buying a brand new car. Mostly because, if you're buying a brand new car, the likelihood of you having nowadays a new car's $40,000. If you probably don't have that in your pocket, so you're going to finance that. And when you're financing something that's depreciating very rapidly in the very beginning, you're underwater instantly. and I don't like the idea of
They always
that.
talk about
It's
how
a
much
wealth
you lose
destroyer.
value driving out of the parking
Right.
lot of the new car dealership.
So that is a wealth destroyer, in my opinion. So I would be a fan of low mileage. So buy something used, but buy something low mileage from a brand you trust. Honda. Oh, that's just what I'm saying.
I'm a Jeep fan. So
he's a Jeep
What do you
fan.
need to do?
But buy it from a brand that you trust that is going to be less, and I think it's going to be less expensive over time because that big depreciation hit is horrible. If you buy it after the depreciation hit, it still
lot better off.
depreciates, but it's a lot slower.
Yeah, I agree
So-
with you with that. You know, and what do you get? You know, if you're buying a 2-3-year-old car as opposed to a brand new, there's really not a lot of wear and tear on that for what the average person keeps a car for.
True.
So, you know, if you hold your car for 7 to 10 years, you know, between having a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old car, not a big difference there, really.
And technology in cars, it's changing, but the 2-year difference isn't really going to be that big of a difference. Another couple bullet points on that is you can save more money even if you buy it not from a dealer. So obviously
There's a markup there, yeah.
used cars dealers, new car dealers, they all are in there to make money. But if you're buying a used car, you're going to pay more for that used car at a dealership than you would if you found it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and did a private party transaction. The best deals come from people you know selling cars.
Yeah, really.
So keep an ear out, and if you're looking, give yourself time. Don't have to buy something right away. That's a good position to not be in. But say, hey, in 3 or 4 months, when the right deal comes along, I want a new Accord. And then put the word out, and someone you know is probably going to sell one.
Yep.
Also, maintenance records. Buy a car with maintenance records, especially something with higher mileage.
You want to know what's been done.
It's going to have had maintenance records or maintenance done to it. So if you don't have those, you could be buying something that's going to cost way more money in advance or in the long run.
They said, "Oh, you're supposed to change the oil." There's 70,000 miles on it. Probably
Probably
gonna
walk away.
And some problems there.
And be okay with walking away.
Yes.
If you go and look at a car and it's not all it's cracked up to be, or you're unsure about it, it's okay to walk
Yeah.
away. So that's a good thing.
Last time we were looking at a car for our family, I built a spreadsheet because I love spreadsheets, and was tracking, and I was watching online looking for it.
Yep.
Had a list of what I wanted, and had this nice sheet to track which one had what and everything. And we were about 3-4 months into it, and my wife's like, "Are you just going to buy a car yet?" And I'm like, "I gotta wait and find the one I want."
right.
We ended up driving about an hour and a half away to get it, and it was great. And it was
Michigan, right?
Yep, worth the time, worth the trip, and to find what you want for the price that you want. So now, for people some people are great when it comes to knowing cars and what to look for if you do a lot of your own maintenance and issues. The dealership, the plus side, and part of what you pay for is someone's already looked at that car.
Yes,
they
exactly.
bought it from somebody, and they've looked through it and fixed up or tuned whatever they need to. So if you're uncertain and you don't have someone you trust to come with you to do that, understand that is part of the markup is you have at least something there to know that somebody looked at it. So I've bought cars from dealerships.
And I have too.
I'm not great with vehicle maintenance. I'm not as handy on that side of life, but you're right. Buying from a private individual is you save that markup.
So speaking of maintenance,
Yes.
I think my number 4 money saving option that people can have is to do some routine maintenance work on your vehicles by yourself.
Yes.
So things like changing your oil, rotating your tires, just topping up your fluids.
You know, every time I drive forward, my tires rotate. So I'm good, right?
Yeah, you're
I
good.
mean, they're always rotating.
Exactly.
Just
Constant
constantly.
rotation.
That's a circle, right?
Even things like headlight filter or headlight bulbs and air and filters and stuff like that. These are all things that you can do yourself very easily. They take very little time, very little knowledge, and you can't really mess them up. Although if you don't put oil in it when you change the oil, that would be a
That'd
bad
be
thing.
good. You
But
can't just empty it out. You gotta
you can
refill.
do this at home for a fraction of the cost. You could do it if you took it somewhere to get done. So my advice is learn from YouTube because
Oh, it's great.
YouTube can tell you how to do anything. I was replacing a fog light, so like one of the low lights on my Pilot. So I bought it. I don't know, 6 months ago
And
now.
screw it like a normal light. Super easy.
So it was the actual lens that was broke.
Oh, yeah.
The bulb fine, so it worked. But I bought a used lens on eBay. Now my vehicle's old, but the thing was broke and it didn't. I was going to fix it when I got the chance. Well, I finally had a chance the day after Thanksgiving. Didn't have work, so I decided, hey, what's it going to take to go out and work on this? So I'm like, hey, babe, I'm going to be in half an hour. This should be real
Super
quick.
easy.
She knows now, after all these years, that it's going to be more than twice as
Be in 2
long.
hours.
You're going to bust a knuckle and get a little frustrated at some point. Well, long story short, to change the fog light lens, not the bulb was fine. I had to take the entire bumper off.
Oh, yeah.
The entire
Crazy.
front bumper. So I did that. But anyway, I learned how to do that from a YouTube video. So I'm a big proponent of YouTube.
This weekend, I had to mess with our washing machine. And same thing is ours doesn't have a front access panel to get to stuff. There's a drain valve that has a filter in it that stops clogs. So I had to pull it out, take it off the backside, and I'm just Google, same thing, YouTube.
Yeah.
Find it, watch a video,
Right.
know how to do it.
It's awesome.
So good.
It's awesome.
But
So-
you never know. My wife always knows when I'm working if I come in and I need a Band-Aid.
Exactly.
That's how you
I
know I'm doing
I've
something.
never done a job.
If I don't get a Band-Aid, I must not have been doing anything.
right.
I must have
Sit
been
on the
sitting around.
couch.
That's still, I hurt myself.
Another benefit to doing some of your own work, and I'm not talking major things, I'm talking minor things, is that when you're working on your vehicle, you can spot other things to preventively take care of them. So, like, I was doing an oil change on my wife's van a couple weeks ago. Went smoothly. It was no problem. But while I was under there, I was like, well, this heat shield has a little rattle thing. I'm going to tighten this up and fix it while I'm here. And it was great. So, like, these little things you can do instead of things causing bigger issues down the road. Piece of advice is get what's called an OBD2 scanner. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at a car store. It's the same thing that AutoZone or whatever will plug in and read the code when your check engine light comes on. You can buy those things for like $50 or less. And then when your check engine light comes on, you scan it and you know what the code is. You can Google what causes that issue. And then either A, decide to do it, fix it, or B, find someone to do that for you. So building on that, I say never repeat it.
Never, ever.
Never, ever, except for sometimes, take your vehicle to a dealership to get the work done, because independent mechanics are a much better option for most people. Now, I'm going to have a disclaimer, but most people would be better served on a cost basis and a service basis from an independent mechanic. And I thank you, because my mechanic in Findlay is one that you told me about and you use, and so it's
awesome.
great. They're wonderful, but I feel like that is a much better bang for your buck than a dealership.
And I feel like you get to know them, you trust them, you understand, you have, in a sense, I don't want to say a relationship with them, but you have, they've seen your car.
Yep.
They know what's happening, and you have that communication. And so I just...
And they'll be honest
feel
with
like
you.
Yeah, they do. So you find one you can trust. You're right on that.
Now,
Now, going back to your OBD2 scanner real quick.
OBD2.
Now, if you want to save even more money, you know what I'm going to say, but AutoZone and those places do it for free. So you have your spouse take it in.
But what if you're scared to drive your vehicle with the check engine light?
Oh, man. Then you have it towed over there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, then you need your scanner. Then you call Austin.
When you
for
drive
his
an old
scanner.
vehicle like me, you keep your scanner in your
In the
trunk.
back. Just, it's
That's
there
what
ready to
that's
go.
what I do. No
It's there
joke.
ready to go.
But yeah, that's actually I mean, they will do it for free. They'll actually sell one to you as well.
Yeah, probably.
And some of those things you can actually just clear the error and see if it comes back. My rule of thumb is if it happens twice, then I take it seriously. If it's something minor sounding.
Yeah.
So like
I just look for smoke. That's when you know. Cars smoke when something's wrong. That's what I've learned. And so, see smoke, then you need to pay attention.
And my disclaimer for
Josh knows nothing. Don't listen to him.
My disclaimer for the independent mechanic is if you own something that's like super rare or an exotic car of some sort, probably take it to the dealer. Yes. They know what to do on those. This is for like average Joes like me and Josh.
Yes.
And also, if you own something super rare or super exotic, you probably aren't listening to 10 ways to save money. So
That's true.
This episode might not be for you. Number 5, Josh, what is that?
Yeah, so, all right, we're in a digital age, right? There's a lot of subscriptions. So, first of all, know what you're paying for. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but there's apps out there. There's ways of finding all the different recurring subscriptions, but pay attention to what you're paying for. Make sure it's still value to you first. Second, if there are subscriptions, is there a way of sharing that? Is there a way that you and family members or somebody could get the same value for that subscription without all of you paying for it?
Right. Yeah, one example that comes to mind is Amazon Prime.
Yep.
So, like, it may not be cost effective for you and your parents to have Amazon Prime because you can have more than one address and credit card saved in Amazon Prime, and then when you order something, you just select it and you're done. You pay for it once. It's great. Other things like streaming services, which we have another episode about, but there are so many options. First of all, do you need all of them?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Have you really watched everything on Hulu to need Netflix as well? I don't know. Probably not. And if you did, that's a lot.
That's impressive.
That's a lot of watching. And all of these different services have different screen limits.
Yes.
And that's kind of how and you can pay more and get more screens or whatever. And if you have a big family, just pay to have additional screens instead of adding another service or whatever. That might be a better option. So, yeah, share subscription services. It's probably pretty cost effective.
Yes. Now, there's a moral aspect of that, but that's a whole nother issue.
Is there a more? Let's talk about it. Is there a moral aspect to sharing subscription services?
No, there's not. As long as that's allowed within the way the subscription is set up, that is definitely part of the deal. Depending on that's why they put screen limits.
Yeah, I would say if as long as there's screen limits, you're probably within the moral obligation to share your service. Josh,
we're halfway there.
5 down, 5 to go.
All right, let's take a break. Dad joke of the week. I got this for you. This is good. All right. What did Liam Neeson say when someone stole his copy of Microsoft Office? I will find you. You have my word. Have my word.
I was thinking it was going to be something about Taken.
Yes.
So,
you have my word.
When that one came out, that was a good movie. You have my word. That is funny. Josh, number 6, plan ahead. Number 6, way to save money. Yes. Talk about planning ahead. What's that mean?
Yeah, so this is more, you're not going to see extra money from this right away.
Well, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah, right. It takes work. This one, though, will, in the long run, help you. And it's really about budgeting. There are things that happen infrequently in an expense standpoint. An example that's coming up, Christmas.
Yeah.
Every year it's December 25th.
I'm not going to.
I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to you, but surprisingly, when we talk finance, a lot of people from a budget standpoint are like,
them out.
I don't know where this money's going to come from to pay for everything I want to do for Christmas. What did you do the last 11 months? Right? And that's what this is about, planning ahead. So, okay, January, I know Christmas is going to happen again. What if I set some money away every month to plan for and be prepared for it, which then in December, I'm not scrambling, either pulling money from accounts I shouldn't be or stopping my savings to the accounts because I don't have the extra cash flow.
Yeah, what if you spent $600 on Christmas last year? Well, then $50 a month.
Got it. Taken care of.
Christmas is taken care of.
Now, this also doesn't just apply to the holidays, but property tax. If you don't have that as part of your payments for your mortgage, if it's not rolled into that, property tax happens every year. If you're in those states that have property tax, I guess I should. It's
probably a lot of people.
Pretty much everybody. Insurance is the same way.
Yep.
Any kind of infrequent payments, make sure you know they're coming.
Yeah, auto insurance.
Auto insurance. If you have any kind of insurance set up for an annual or semi-annual payment, just know it's coming.
Yep.
Just be ready for it.
Yeah, my advice is to kind of do your own. So like if you have the bank take care of your property tax and insurance, you're doing what's called escrow. Mm-hmm. So you pay a little extra every month.
They put
it into an account, and then when those bills come due, they pay it. Well, do that yourself. Mm-hmm. And then, so you know, generally speaking, plus or minus, so it moves up and down every year or whatever.
Bit.
Not down. Things will get more expensive every year, but you know what your car insurance is probably going to be. You know what your house insurance is going to be. You know what your property tax is going to be within reason.
Yes.
So you can just set it up to automatically put 1/12 of that every month into an account. Yes. And then when it's ready, when it's due, you just write a check and you're done.
Correct.
So do your own escrow.
Yeah. And so planning ahead, and this is, again, coming back to when we're talking through budgeting, it's really just being proactive with your money and thinking it through the best way of managing it. And this is one of the pieces, just saying, okay, I'm not thinking about today and tomorrow. I'm thinking about 6 months from now. Is there something I need to be thinking about? Vacation is another thing. If you like to take vacations, don't put it all in a credit card and then try to pay it off, because if there's interest there, you're going to pay extra for that vacation, and it's already happened. It's not as much fun.
Right.
Saving for it gives you that kind of anticipation of every time you put that money away, hey, this is for that awesome trip I'm going to do, and you can then enjoy it more knowing that it's already paid for.
Exactly.
Those type of things.
Number 7, consider reducing the level of insurance on your vehicles.
Wait a minute, that doesn't seem safe.
Seems
what
backwards.
Are you talking about?
So obviously, legally speaking, you need to have insurance on your vehicles.
Yes.
And you typically need to have liability. Is the main legal requirement. Yes. You need liability. I would also recommend for a couple dollars adding comprehensive, because that's like hit a deer or a tree falls on your thing. Very cheap. But liability and
if you
comprehensive.
live in the Midwest, hitting a deer, I did
very,
it this year.
It's very
hitting a
yes,
deer
it
happens.
So those are like that's like basic insurance. But if you drive an old vehicle, maybe that used vehicle we're talking about. So my wife and I drive 13 and 11-year-old cars. They are not worth having collision insurance on, in our opinion, because we can replace them very affordably.
Yeah.
Now, if you own something newer, maybe a little bit more, worth it or whatever, or if you have a loan on those vehicles, you'll be required to have collision insurance typically. But if you can reasonably, affordably, whether a very short-term, low-interest rate car loan, or you've got the money saved up in an emergency fund or whatever, if you can replace that vehicle really cheaply, really easily, you don't really need to have all this insurance. And you could save on your premium pretty substantially because collision insurance is the biggest portion of your insurance premium. So, yeah, our example is we've got a 13-year-old Honda Odyssey. Love it. Great van, very reliable. Do my maintenance on it, keep up on it, but it's not worth, I don't know, it's probably worth $5,000 or whatever. It's got 140,000 miles on it, and it's not in perfect shape because it's used. Do we really need collision insurance on it? I don't think so. So we've chosen something like that, and we save money on insurance. But if something happens, that's on us. Yep. So you just have to plan ahead for that.
And on top of that, you talked about your payments, right, for insurance. There's another way of reducing that is increasing your deductible.
Yeah, that's right.
So the idea there is, you may have a $250 deductible where if something happens and my insurance is covering it, the first $250 is on me. Then everything else after that, the insurance covers. Well, if I have an emergency fund set up and I have everything set aside, what if I double that to $500? So I pay the first $500 and then they'll pay the rest. Well, that's going to reduce my monthly cost.
It's going to reduce because it's going to reduce their risk.
Yes, because if it's a small ding, chances are they may not be involved at all.
Exactly.
And so if you can, and make sure you can have the ability to pay it so that you can get your car repaired, but you can increase your deductible or increase your premium to. I'm sorry.
Increase your deductible
to decrease your premium.
Yes.
Same is true with your house. Again, look at that. Make sure you can cover that cost, but doing so can save you monthly premium.
Absolutely. And kind of building on our car insurance or any insurance, work with an independent insurance agent.
Yes.
So that's someone that they're an insurance agent that can work with any insurance company. They can shop around and find you the best deal, and they can find you the best deal on your home, your auto, your boat, whatever,
Umbrella,
and they can
all the stuff.
They can even lump it in, like bundle it, especially if it's all with one provider or whatever. But they can do that and run different scenarios for you, and that can save you a lot of money as well.
Yes.
I know that we've got our house, motorcycle, and cars all on one policy, and because we bundle it, we get a significant discount.
It's nice. And always ask about different discounts.
Yep.
Because they have all these crazy things. Does your car have an alarm to it? There might be a discount for that. Do you have a fire extinguisher in your kitchen? Well, you could get a discount. There's all these things you can do to get discounts. Don't be afraid to ask to reduce that payment.
Number 8, cook at home more.
Yes.
I'm really a proponent of eating.
I like it.
And so because I like to eat, my dad always told me, you got to like to cook.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to cook, and I cook a lot. But truth be told, the cost per meal of cooking at home compared to going out is so much cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
And especially when you've got a bigger family. You've got 4 kids.
Oh, it's expensive.
So if you go out to eat, you're anteing up pretty high.
Yes. And you think about, to me, the biggest example of this is steaks. If you go to a steakhouse to eat and you order the steak, then you go to the grocery store and buy the exact same steak, you see what that difference you're paying for someone else to cook that steak for you is.
Right.
And to me, that's always the biggest example. Now, they do a better job of cooking than I do most of the time. But I can make an okay steak and save some money. Yeah. And you're right. Now, the caveat here is, again, for everybody, you could save money, but is it worth it, the trade-off? Now, if you're not a good cook, then maybe it's not worth it.
Or you're going to become one real fast.
Yeah, but if you can survive the food poisoning, you will be all right.
So a couple of perks is you might enjoy cooking the more you try it,
fun.
the more you do it. It can be healthier, especially if you're, not eating fast food.
I mean, you control it too,
exactly
right?
what's in it.
If you need to reduce your sodium, you just don't sprinkle a little bit more of that in there, right? You just control how much goes in.
It's a delicious hobby. So I'm a proponent of cooking. But I also like to say that you got to live. Yes. So it's okay to get takeout or eat out sometimes. We typically on the weekends are a little bit more lax on eating out or getting pizza or takeout or whatever. But typically during the week, we do a good job of planning for and cooking ahead. Yeah. Another thing is to make sure you eat those leftovers. And this is still
cooked at home or takeout. Doesn't matter.
Don't throw them away. I am surprised by how many people will not eat leftovers. And I grew up eating leftovers because it's a good meal for one, but it saves a whole nother meal that you have to make. So
and time.
Eat your leftovers. Take your leftovers to lunch the next day. Pack your lunch. These are ways that you can save money with your food.
Yeah, and leftovers, packing your lunch. Just the concept again comes back to planning ahead. It's just thinking through. All right, if my family's busy on Wednesday nights because we have events that go on Wednesdays, maybe I make a big meal Tuesday when I have more time, and then we have leftovers.
Yep.
Like thinking ahead, so then you're not forced to, we better just go grab food. We don't have time. So again, it really just comes back to thinking ahead and planning. That's huge.
And I know, statistically speaking, in America, we have a huge food waste issue. And I see this in my own house. Sometimes we'll get done with eating and I'm like, I didn't finish that or whatever. Or things, you have too many leftovers in your fridge and then you never get to it or whatever. And we should really just collectively eat your leftovers, but maybe don't make such an excess all the time. That's a hard thing to do sometimes, especially when there's we only have 2 adults. So it's really hard to cook for 2. Yep. But yeah, throw away less food as well.
I found that was the biggest transition for some people in the empty nest stage.
Oh yeah, all the food they used to need.
Let's say you had 2, 3, 4 kids at home, and then now they're all out of the house. Your meal planning is totally different. Your recipes are probably way off now.
Yeah.
And so you tend to have a lot more leftovers, or at least early on, because you're making that adjustment. So yeah.
When my brother and I were in high school, we just ate obscene amounts of food.
Crazy.
And I do not know how my parents afforded to feed us all the time because we just ate them at a house and home. And now I have a 4-year-old little brother who lives with mom and dad still, and the rest of us are out of the house, and he doesn't eat hardly anything. So their food life has changed substantially.
Nice. Yep.
Number 9, stop buying the newest gadgets.
Don't tell me that.
And I'm guilty of this. I am an Apple guy. You're an Android guy.
Yep.
I'm an Apple guy, and I like seeing when the new things come out. I like having a relatively new whatever. But the truth is, last year's iPhone or Android, they're going to work great, and you're going to get 3 or 4 years out of it, and it's going to be fine, and it's a third the cost of the brand new one. So just not having that need to constantly have the newest and the latest and the greatest is a way to save money because you're not spending money on the newest and the latest and the greatest, because cell phones, like other things, lose their value really quickly.
Yes, they do.
Or phones or computers or tablets or anything like that. So let's just work on maybe use what you have a little longer, buy a affordable last year's model. Those are some ways to keep to save some money there.
And in general, when it comes to gadgets, it's really that they're trying to get that you need it because everybody else is going to have it type of mindset. And if you can really, again, step back and say, okay, what value does this add for me? Is my phone compared to the new phone that much different? What am I going to get? And you may if you just stop and think about it, slow down that purchase process and say, how much do I really want this? You may find that it's not as big of a deal as I thought it was.
Yep.
My camera with 7,000 megapixels. Do I need that extra 1,000? I don't. All I do is look at them on my phone.
Right.
It's just not getting any value.
Yeah.
I'm not looking by a 60 by 80 framed picture on my wall.
I know. That's a funny thing because so TVs are the big thing pushing statistics, and 4K 1080 was the big thing 10 years ago. 4K. And then it went to 4K, and now there's 6K and 8K. I can't tell the difference between 1080 and it's all good.
It's good.
So let's just be cool.
And at some point, too much detail is probably not good.
I know. You're going to see all the imperfections in the movies you watch. No one wants to see that. Number 10, and last but not least, Josh, what you got?
This is just one of those that you probably tell your kids, save your change. Use that extra change. Now, most people are going to say, I don't use cash anymore. I
was just about to say that.
Digital. Well, guess what? They got an app for that. There are software that round up and automatically. So let's say I'm purchasing something and it's $11.95. It'll take that extra 5 cents, send it to a savings account, investment account, or something. But it takes that change that if I was using cash, I would have, and puts it somewhere. And that's really the concept, is just, in a sense, you're just rounding up your purchases and taking that little bit extra. And over time, it amounts to a decent amount of money.
Right.
And so, take your change, use your change, but just be, again, aware of where your money's going and automate that savings.
Yeah.
So if it's, whether it's rounding up or whatever it is that you do, that just says, okay, I'm being diligent and taking some extra money that I probably would have just lost track of if I was just going through daily life. I have a little thing in my car just with spare change, right? If I use cash, change goes in there, right? And it's just there for, need to
tolls.
put air in my tire or tolls or something. But in general, if that gets too full, grab some out, cash it in. There
was a period in my life where I used cash a lot. I don't really anymore, but I was amazed with how much change, because I had obviously a little thing in my car, and I still do, but there's not much in it. Like, I need a quarter for Aldi, the car at Aldi. Yep. That's about it. But even the air pumps use Apple Pay now, so it's awesome.
That's when air is expensive when you're using credit
and they charge you more.
They do.
They charge you more.
It's ridiculous.
So anyway, I had this little bowl I kept on my desk where I throw spare change, and I think I ended up having $20-some when I ended up taking it to the bank, because I was like, this is getting out of hand.
Yes, it's getting full.
So anyway, yes, use your change. Josh, guess what I brought?
What do you got?
I brought an extra
bonus.
This is an 11th way to save money. Oh, wait, it's not a way to save money at all. What if I told you there was a way to spend the same amount of money but have more money in your pocket?
That's magic.
That just doesn't make sense. It's like witchcraft.
It's crazy.
Nope, it's not. It's true. You can free up money in your budget by not focusing on spending money, but in fact, focus on making more money. So if you take on a side hustle, if you take on a part-time job, consulting, giving guitar lessons, something like that, you can have more money in your budget and spend the same amount of money.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
It's easier to make more money than try to find ways to cut.
Well, and you there's only so much, like a lot of personal finance is related on cutting spending.
Yes.
And everyone only has a finite amount of spending that they can cut. But truth be told, we have essentially unlimited ability to make more money if we do more things. So that's really where a huge lever is that I think's potentially untapped from a lot of people.
And it plays back into what I always say is the moderation side of life is you can focus so hard on saving that you're not enjoying life and you're causing people around you to not be happy to be around you, right? You could be kind of a Scrooge type of person, right? And that has its impact on you as a toll. And so instead of being so locked in on pinching every penny, you could say, well, I have some time. I could turn that time into additional money by utilizing a skill I have or something, like you said. So you're right. It's a great way of moderating between cutting your spending and finding more cash available.
And kind of building on that, suppose that you meet your friend every day at the coffee shop for a cup of coffee, and that brings you a great relationship and great joy, but it's $5 a day. It's not the most conservative way to spend your money. Some people might not view it as the most responsible, but if that truly brings, if you can swing it, and that truly brings you joy and a great relationship, we're not going to be here to tell you to stop, because you've got to live. You've got to live. You can't just cut to the bone and all the time.
It's really finding what are the things that bring me joy and bring me happiness, and what are the things that I could do without, and making the adjustments in between those. It's not just taking a big cleaver and cutting everything 20% and saying, here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's saying, okay, what are the spots where when I do make a cut, I'm okay with?
Yeah.
Right? And, like you said, going back to subscriptions, okay, I have 4 subscriptions. If I cut one, I may miss a couple shows, but in general, I'd be okay. Okay. Or would I rather cut down on my eating out? Maybe some people love watch. Maybe they just love movies. So I'd rather cut out eating out. And it's just a matter of find what works for you and make it happen. You're right.
Yeah. So anyway, that is kind of Josh and I's list of 10 ways to save you some money. We are excited that hopefully some of these can be things you can think about. I'm not saying go out and implement all of these things at once, but these are just things that as you see these expenses come up or whatever, just, hey, maybe this is a time to revisit our auto insurance or whatever. So as always, check out our free gift to you. It's a brief list of 8 principles of timeless investing. These are overarching investment themes meant to keep you on track to meet your long-term goals. It's free on our website. Josh, how can people help us to grow this podcast?
Yeah, I would say based off this episode, if you have a savings tip you'd like to share, shoot us an email at hello@theinvesteddads.com. We'd love to hear about it. And if it's awesome, we'll share it with everybody as well in a future episode. But also subscribe to this. That way you get our most recent releases every Thursday. Review Apple Podcasts, which is great. It helps us with ranking, which then helps more people hear about us. And if you know some people that are talking about saving and would like to hear this episode, make sure you share it with them.
And did you know that the Invested Dads podcast is free?
Free.
So what? It's free entertainment.
Savings right there.
That's savings right there. So some people would pay big money for this, but you
sure.
get it for free. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Until next Thursday, Josh and Austin signing off.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.